For generations, humanity has looked at the words of ancient prophets as stories, legends, and metaphors, beautiful, terrifying, but distant. Many believed they belonged to an age of superstition, when men tried to explain the unexplainable with divine imagery. But as centuries passed, something began to shift. What once seemed like religious imagination now takes shape in headlines, in technology, in politics, in the trembling of nature itself. The old pages come alive, and the line between prophecy and news fades until both become one. The prophecies of Daniel, Ezekiel, and John no longer whisper. They shout through the winds of a collapsing world. In every generation, there were voices that said the end would come. But this time, it feels different. The signs are not hidden in the stars alone. They're written in human behavior. The love of many has grown cold. Nations rise against nations, kingdoms against kingdoms, and violence fills the earth as it did in the days of Noah. The air feels heavier, the time shorter, the moral compass spinning with no direction. The world celebrates rebellion as freedom, confusion as identity, and darkness as enlightenment. And in the midst of all this noise, the ancient words echo once more. When you see all these things, know that it is near, even at the doors. Science advances, but peace retreats. Knowledge multiplies, yet wisdom vanishes. Men explore galaxies, but cannot govern their own hearts. Artificial intelligence promises immortality. Digital idols replace faith, and the human soul, once sacred, is now currency in the marketplace of algorithms. The prophets spoke of a time when men would become lovers of themselves, proud, arrogant, ungrateful, without affection, despisers of good. That time is now. What was once metaphor is now manifestation. We see Babylon rebuilt, not in bricks and towers, but in systems and ideologies that exalt man above God. The golden calf now glows in pixels and code. Every global crisis feels like a piece of the puzzle snapping into place. Earthquakes shake nations, storms rewrite coastlines, and diseases appear with names mankind never heard before. Leaders speak of unity, peace, and a new world order, while quietly power consolidates into the hands of the few. The stage of prophecy is being set not by fantasy, but by geopolitics. Israel, the small nation once scattered across the earth, stands again as the heartbeat of the world, just as foretold. The desert blooms, the nations surround her, and the tension grows like the string of a bow drawn tight. The words of Zechariah return to memory. I will make Jerusalem a cup of trembling unto all the people round about. But while fear grips the earth, the faithful begin to awaken. They see the signs not as terror, but as confirmation. The words of Revelation unfold, not to frighten but to remind. History has a direction, and it points toward divine fulfillment. Every seal, every trumpet, every vision of the end was not written to entertain. It was a warning, a message, a light in the darkness. The apocalypse is not chaos. It's the closure of an era. It's the final act of a story written before time began, where good and evil meet their conclusion and the glory of God fills what once was broken. As the world accelerates into chaos, a question hangs in the air like a whisper from eternity. What if the Bible was never wrong? What if every word, every warning, every prophecy was true, waiting only for its appointed hour? What if fiction was never fiction, but a mirror of the future? The thought alone shakes the foundations of disbelief, because suddenly what was dismissed as religious fantasy now reads like tomorrow's news. The alignment of nations, the rise of global control, the fall of morality, the mark of identity that dictates who may buy or sell, these are not myths. They are headlines written thousands of years in advance. The call is not for panic, but for preparation. Those who watch understand that time is short, but purpose remains. The message of prophecy is not despair, it's hope in disguise. For within the destruction lies the promise of renewal, and after judgment comes restoration. The return of the King is not tragedy, it's triumph. Every trembling ground, every dark sky, every shaking nation is not the end, but the beginning of something eternal. The one who was promised is coming again, and every eye shall see him. The time of grace is closing, and the time of glory is near. This is the awakening of prophecy, the moment when the world realizes that the Bible was never a myth, but a map. Every verse, every vision, every symbol leads to the same conclusion. The author of time is returning to reclaim his creation. The kingdom of man will fall, the kingdom of God will rise, and those who believed without seeing will finally see what they believed. The words once read in silence will thunder across the heavens. Behold, he comes with clouds, and every eye shall see him. The world is no longer blind. What once hid in allegory now stands visible before every eye. The prophecies are not coming, they are here. Humanity lives inside them without realizing it. The digital towers rise higher than Babel ever dreamed, connecting every soul, every thought, every secret, binding the planet under one invisible empire. The prophets called it the image of the beast, a system that speaks, sees, and controls. And now we hold it in our hands, in our homes, in our hearts. Technology has become the god of this generation, and worship happens not in temples, but through screens. The spirit of the age whispers softly, "Bow to convenience, and I will give you the world." And most obey without hesitation. Every day, something sacred is traded for something temporary. Truth becomes relative, morality negotiable, and faith outdated. The world no longer asks, "Is it right?" but "Does it feel good?" The words of Isaiah echo like thunder through modern culture. Woe to those who call evil good and good evil. In every corner, humanity builds altars to self-worship. Body, fame, power, pride. The enemy does not need to persecute faith. He replaces it with distraction. People no longer fear the mark of the beast because they already bear the mark of apathy. The spiritual war no longer needs swords. It thrives through seduction. And yet, amidst the illusion, the truth remains unbreakable. Prophecy is not warning us. It is waking us. The nations gather in councils, speaking of unity and peace. They talk about sustainability, equality, and progress, yet their hearts beat with ambition. The book of Revelation told of 10 kings who would give their power to one ruler. The machinery of that alliance is already running. Borders blur, currencies fade, identities merge into numbers. The dream of control becomes the nightmare of prophecy fulfilled. What was once dismissed as fantasy now becomes a framework for survival. The world, desperate for stability, will surrender freedom for safety, never realizing that it has been ensnared. And in that surrender, the words of Daniel unfold. He shall cause craft to prosper in his hand, and by peace shall destroy many. The world will call it progress. Heaven will call it the final deception. The same spirit that moved in the garden now moves in global systems. The serpent's question still echoes through time. Did God really say? Every ideology that denies truth, every movement that redefines morality, every promise that replaces faith with self, these are not new. They are ancient lies dressed in modern light. The fall of man repeats itself with more sophistication, and the forbidden fruit now glows with a digital shine. The prophecies are not distant warnings. They are repeating patterns, ancient cycles reaching their final loop. We are the generation that will see the story complete. And while the earth groans, the heavens prepare. The angels are not silent. The seals are not idle. Every event has its place in divine sequence. The shaking of nations, the collapse of economies, the cry for peace, all of it is rehearsal for revelation. The earth trembles not because it is dying, but because it is laboring to give birth to eternity. The contractions of creation intensify with every disaster, every war, every moral collapse. The prophets called them birth pains. The world feels the pressure but cannot see the purpose. Yet the faithful know these are not random crises. They are the countdown of heaven. Amid the despair, a remnant rises. A generation awakens that is not entertained by darkness, nor seduced by lies. They walk with fire in their eyes and conviction in their hearts. They carry the word not as religion, but as revelation. They are the witnesses of the last days, those who will not bow when the world kneels before deception. Their voices may be few, but their echo will reach the nations. For prophecy is not just a message, it's a mantle. It falls upon those who dare to believe when belief becomes rebellion against the world. And through them the voice of God speaks again. Come out of her, my people, that you be not partakers of her sins, but the world, drunk with its own success, will mock them. The prophets of truth will be labeled extremists, the righteous called dangerous, and the faithful dismissed as fools. The light will become offensive to those who dwell in darkness. The system of the beast will not begin with violence, it will begin with ridicule. And when words are no longer enough to silence the truth, persecution will come. Yet even in chains, the faithful will sing. Even in darkness, they will see the dawn, because their hope does not lie in survival but in resurrection. They know that the end of the world is not tragedy, it is transformation. The fire that burns the earth will not consume them. It will refine them. The stage of prophecy is complete. The players are in place. The kingdoms move according to the script written before creation. Every empire that rises does so only to fall at its appointed hour. The beast waits in the shadows, the false prophet whispers behind smiles, and the nations prepare for a covenant that will cost them their souls. And while the world watches in fascination, heaven watches in sorrow, because the truth was written long ago, not hidden but ignored. The greatest deception is not believing a lie, it is refusing the truth. Yet even in this, God's mercy lingers. The door of grace remains open, but not forever. One day soon it will close, and on that day every heart will know. What once seemed like fiction was prophecy all along. For those who understand, this is not a call to fear. It is a call to awaken. The message of prophecy is not doom, it's direction. It doesn't tell us how the world ends. It tells us how redemption begins. The same book that describes judgment also promises hope. It speaks of a king who will return, of a world made new, of justice restored. It is written, he who testifies to these things says, surely I come quickly. The question is no longer if he will come, it is when. And for those who believe, the answer is simple, soon. The world stands at the edge of its own design, surrounded by the machines it worshipped and the systems it built to replace its creator. Silence fills the heavens as humanity believes it has triumphed. Cities glow like stars. The sky hums with technology. Peace seems within reach. But then everything begins to unravel. What was once fiction now feels like memory, the memory of a warning ignored. The sun grows dim, the winds shift, and fear takes root in hearts that thought themselves unshakable. The order humanity created collapses under the weight of divine truth. The time of prophecy is not approaching, it is here. The words written in Revelation now walk among us. The last empire rises in confidence. Its ruler speaks with elegance and power, promising hope to the desperate, safety to the fearful, and prosperity to the weary. His face becomes the image of unity, his voice the anthem of a dying world. But behind his charm lies the serpent's hiss. The nations give him their crowns, not by conquest but by choice. The dream of peace becomes the instrument of control, and the covenant of security becomes the seal of bondage. The mark is not forced, it is desired. The people kneel willingly, trading eternity for comfort, truth for convenience, their souls for a promise that cannot last. In the name of peace, they imprison themselves. The faithful stand apart, few in number but infinite in purpose. They are mocked, rejected, hunted, but not broken. They remember the words of their Lord. If they hated me, they will hate you also. Their hope does not lie in survival, but in the promise that beyond the fire lies the throne. As the world bows to the image of power, they lift their eyes to the heavens, knowing that the same sky which holds judgment also holds redemption. Every act of faith becomes a declaration of war against darkness. Every prayer becomes a trumpet blast. The persecution only reveals the truth. The light still burns, and it cannot be extinguished. Then comes the shaking. The earth convulses as if the very soil remembers Eden. The sea roars, the sky bleeds red, and the mountains melt before the voice that spoke them into being. The stars fall like embers from a dying flame, and the nations tremble. Every kingdom that stood proud now bows low. The arrogance of man dissolves into dust, and silence once again fills the world. And in that silence a sound rises, a trumpet pure and unstoppable. The heavens split like a curtain drawn open, and there in unimaginable glory the King appears. The Son of Man descends clothed in light, riding upon clouds with fire in his eyes and crowns upon his head. The armies of heaven follow him not with weapons, but with worship. His name is written upon his thigh, King of Kings and Lord of Lords. Every eye sees him, and every heart understands this is not myth, not metaphor, not legend. This is the fulfillment of every word, every dream, every prophecy. The one who was crucified now returns crowned. The cross that once bore shame now shines as the banner of victory. The world that rejected him now trembles before his presence. The kings of the earth gather their forces in defiance, but what weapon can stand against the breath of God? He speaks, and the armies fall silent. He looks, and the proud crumble. The false prophet vanishes into smoke. The beast is cast into the lake of fire, and the deceiver who began it all is bound in eternal chains. The battle ends not with war, but with a word. Creation exhales in relief, the curse breaks, and the reign of sin ends forever. The same voice that said, "Let there be light," now declares, "It is done," and the universe begins again. The heavens rejoice. The stars sing once more. The dead rise not as ghosts, but as glory. The faithful, once despised, shine brighter than the sun. The tears of martyrs become jewels in the crown of eternity. The Lamb stands victorious, and his people stand with him. The promise is complete. No more death, no more pain, no more night. The King wipes every tear from every eye, and the world finally understands that judgment was never meant to destroy. It was meant to restore. The apocalypse was never the end. It was the unveiling of truth, and now the New Jerusalem descends like a bride, adorned for her husband. Its walls shimmer with light beyond human color, its streets glow with the gold of purity, and its gates stand forever open. The river of life flows from the throne, clear as crystal, and the tree of life spreads its branches to heal what was broken. Nations are no more, for all are one under the Lamb. There is no sun, for the glory of God is the light. The song of the redeemed fills eternity, a melody of triumph and grace. The story of time ends here, but the story of eternity begins. Prophecy has found its fulfillment, and fiction has become faith. The words that men dismissed now stand as the pillars of a new creation. The author has written the final chapter, and it ends not in despair, but in love. The kingdom has come, and his will is done, on earth as it is in heaven. The Alpha has met the Omega, and the circle is complete. The scars of the past shine as proof of redemption, not pain. And the one who sits on the throne speaks once more, "Behold, I make all things new." This is not a myth. This is not imagination. This is the truth written across the sky, written in the blood of the Savior, written in the hearts of those who still believe. What once seemed like fiction is now the story of our generation, the revelation of Jesus Christ, the end of the world as we know it, and the dawn of eternity. The prophecies were not meant to scare us. They were meant to prepare us. The end is not the fall of humanity. It is the rise of glory. The King is coming, and every heartbeat is a countdown to his return. So be ready. Stay awake. Let your faith burn brighter than the fear that surrounds you. Lift your eyes to the horizon, because the same sky that trembles with judgment will soon shine with redemption. The trumpet will sound, the heavens will open, and the world will finally see what the prophets saw. The King is coming, and his kingdom will never end. This is your call to stand. This is your call to believe. This is your moment to choose eternity over illusion. The world may call it madness, but one day they will call it truth. The story is not over. It is only beginning. The words of prophecy have become reality. The time is short. The signs are clear. And the voice of heaven still whispers to those who listen, "Behold, I come quickly."